Hi everybody, this is the video on how to do sighting. That was the technique I used in the implied contour outline drawing to measure all of my objects. And what I did was I used the smaller cube and one of the smaller spheres to measure other objects in the drawing and to get the spacing right. Now you can do this by eye too, but if you have trouble with it, you can do the sighting, and I recommend trying that. So you should do an exercise where you just do a sighting with two objects, a smaller object and a larger object. So you can see here I used just two simple objects, the two cubes, and I used the smaller one to measure the larger one. And the way I do that is I just hold my pencil out and I measure first the height of the square. Now I'm just measuring the height, I'm not measuring the top of it, I'm measuring the front. And then I go over, I move my arm over, always trying to keep my arm as straight as possible. My thumb goes at the bottom and the top of the pencil goes at the top. That's how I get the height. And I move it over. And I measure from my thumb being the bottom from the top of the larger cube. And I go up and I see I have about 2. And then I draw my smaller object first, wherever it is going to be on in my composition. And since we're drawing from life, you're kind of trying to draw what you're seeing, just drawing from the imagination. And then I go, whatever this size is, that determines the size of everything else. So you could use a ruler if you want to be really fussy about it. You can just use your fingers or your pencil. And I go in here and I go 2, and I think it was a little bit more than 2 when I measured it out last time. And then I do the same thing to get the spacing. I can do that by eye and I can measure it out to see how far it was. I think it was about 1.5 actually. Let's see what it was in here. To measure the width of things, I measure the width. I just do exactly the same thing, but I hold my pencil horizontally. And then I measure, and it was about 1. And then I measure the width of the cube, the larger cube too. So 1, 2, it's about 2.5. And I measured that. 1, 2.5. And same thing, I measured it for pretty much everything. I mean, some of this I will just end up doing by eye, but to get the basic height, it's very good for that. Another thing you can do is you can make little points along your drawing. Say if you had the cone in here, you could do a center line, measure the height of that. Say there were, let's see what I just did here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5, almost 6 in the cone shape of the smaller cube. And I can get my center point and I can just kind of map, say if I had something else over here, kind of just see how lightly I'm drawing. I'm just doing very, very light lines. I'm not holding my pencil on the tip of the pencil. I am using the tripod position, but I'm just doing very, very light lines. That's why I like HB, because you can get quite a dark line like that, but you can get a very soft line. Whereas if you're working with further up in the B range, it's a little harder to do that. Okay, so you can kind of map out. I didn't really do that other drawing that way where I mapped everything out, but you can map out your entire composition pretty rapidly. If you start out with just having maybe 3 or 4 objects, it's probably better to do when you're starting out drawing. Don't try to get it too complex. Okay, so that's the sighting. Use the smaller object, the height and the width, to measure height and width of your larger objects. And you can even measure the distance. The thing that you have to be careful with about that, I will often draw diagonal lines to other objects. Say we have a sphere or something, the lemon over here, or something like that. I'll draw diagonal lines to try and get the angle right. So some of this you're doing by eye, some of it you can actually do with what's called sighting, where you're measuring things out. So for the next video, I'm going to show you how to draw boxes without looking at them from life, just using a horizon line and perspective. We'll be doing that eventually, and we'll be doing a linear perspective drawing based on a Renaissance artist, Leon Battista Alberti's formula. And we'll start doing this now, though. For anybody that doesn't know how to just draw boxes from life, it's very helpful to draw them from your imagination first. Okay, so do this as an exercise. This will all be in the module. Have fun.